So, Paul Verhoeven. What is up with Paul Verhoeven? He's made some of the most influential films in pop culture history. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who hasn't at least heard of RoboCop or Basic Instinct or even Total Recall. But at the same time, you can't really tell people, hey, you know Paul Verhoeven? And they say yes.
Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you?
Nobody really knows who he is, other than cinephiles, such as myself. I mean, he must be popular with the endless parade of remakes and sequels to all the American films he's made constantly being churned out in Hollywood. Personally, while I do respect him as a filmmaker, I've never really been a huge fan of any of his movies. Like, there's something so distant about them for me, especially since I don't really have that nostalgic factor for them, given I was born in the mid-90s, and my parents never let me see any hard R films other than Die Hard every single Christmas.
My mom is perfect.
Recently, I got inspired to take a look at some of his American films, just to see why I felt they never really fully came together for me. And here are a few things that I thought about his films. For one, he seems to focus more on developing a message for the story rather than the story and characters themselves, which leaves me with a hollow feeling at the end of each movie, much like Kevin Bacon, am I right? Also, while it's all well and good to use satire as a means to talk to the audience, you have to actually have something underneath which grabs the audience's attention. Otherwise, the message kind of gets lost due to straight up boredom and lack of entertainment value. And finally, his action films lack a lot in the action department. Like, whoever told him these effects and these moments would age well clearly was a big fat liar.
You are lying through your teeth, you little demon.
I don't think his movies are the worst or anything, and I admire his commitment to using practical effects and gore to further the plot, but his movies lack personal investment. And while I can have most of them on and not really feel angry or mad or anything, I don't find myself particularly inspired or invested in any of them. So come with me, boys and girls, as I go through his films to see just exactly
what's up with that vanilla face?
Both their negatives and their positives. And I'll be mainly looking at his American films, as those are the ones with the largest cultural impact. Also, spoilers ahead, but really, if you've gone through puberty already and haven't seen Basic Instinct by now, you probably were never going to see it. First, let's talk about the main element that people say gives his movies value, their satire. Everyone is always saying to view these movies as satire and you'll have a much better time. I did. And I didn't.
Well, you did and you didn't.
Like Starship Troopers, RoboCop, and even Total Recall are all supposed to be satires of the genre they're in. But how effective the satire really is relies on how good each individual movie is. Starship Troopers is supposed to be satirizing fascism and how it's used to brainwash people to join their nation's military, but that message is heavily diluted by the fact that the plot and the characters are all just about as stock as you can get. Like, near the beginning of the movie, when Michael Ironside is spouting the morals and message about their society, all we see is Casper Van Dien flirting with Denise Richards. And, well, who could blame him? But, I mean, there's the old rule of show don't tell in regards to cinema, which Verhoeven clearly understands with the interludes of propaganda dispersed without the film. And while those are by far my favorite part of the movie, they do feel a little out of place with the rest of the story. I believe that since film is an inherently visual medium, people are more sucked in by what characters are doing rather than what they're saying. This overbearing teen drama element between Casper Van Dien and Denise Richards is just so hard to look past. We're inherently simple people just like Johnny Rico is. So when we see hot people doing stuff, that's all we're gonna think about. And I get that maybe that's the point. Like, we're supposed to be watching it as an audience made up of people from this time period thinking about enlisting or something, but why in the hell would we look at it that way? We're looking at it as a modern audience. We don't look at Triumph of the Will from the perspective of a civilian in Germany in the 1930s. We see it as a dated but somewhat effective piece of propaganda. And just because this movie is intentionally trying to evoke that doesn't make it more interesting to us. All I end up thinking is, who cares about this crap? I'm not saying I didn't enjoy myself, especially in a few scenes I can think of, but it doesn't feel wholly untouchable like a lot of people say it is. A lot of his stuff feels like a parody movie that plays on screen when characters in an actual movie go to the theater, which is fine for a one-off joke, but gets old when it's stretched out for 2.5 hours.
I'm told! Oh, I'm like the Crypt Keeper!
I'll get back to Starship Troopers in a minute, but right now I want to discuss what I believe is the heaviest evidence satire alone does not make a movie good, and that's Showgirls. I don't care if Showgirls was meant to be commentary on, I don't know, show business. It doesn't change the fact that it's the dullest and most irritating movie I maybe have ever seen. I couldn't watch more than 15 minutes of it before I turned it off and just said, screw it, I'll just bullshit my way through talking about it. I don't really care if it was meant to be satire or if the characters were meant to be unlikable or if it was meant to be a goddamn ham sandwich. It still provides me no entertainment value other than using it as a punchline to Jesse Spano's career as an actress.
Right! Yeah!
It just highlights the fact that just because a movie is satire doesn't mean it's interesting. Paul,
Bobby.
your message won't come across if I physically can't stand your movie for more than a few minutes. It's not compelling or interesting. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous and comical how horny and terrible every guy in this world seems to be and how horny and angry every woman seems to be, but it's not enough to keep me interested past when Elizabeth Berkley pulls a knife on some guy who gives her a ride. And it doesn't help that every character in the movie is completely unlikable. They're constantly mean, they act maliciously without remorse, they're all selfish, and they all physically assault each other regularly, inciting zero desire in the audience to want to follow their story other than the fact that they're all attractive, which really isn't saying much when characters act this badly with no clear reasons as to why.
I hate you. I hate you. I don't even know you, and I hate your guts. I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and nobody else but you.
I don't really care if that's the point. You're trying to get a reaction out of us. You can't just make something total shit and say that's what I was trying to do. That's like me telling my girlfriend I'll make her lunch and then giving her a pile of dog shit. And when she said, you know this is dog shit, right? I say, of course, but I made it for you. Isn't it hilarious?
It was a metaphor.
For what?
For you're full of shit.
She doesn't talk to me anymore. The reason why people can remember Total Recall, ironically, and RoboCop and Starship Troopers is that there was more than just what he was trying to say. There was at least some semblance of a story and character thrown in with varying degrees of success. A lot of his movies feel like he came up with a message and a lesson first, and then he built some kind of story around it. The worlds he builds are cool and everything, but everything after that feels secondary. Like Showgirls is some kind of society where topless Vegas showgirls are superstars for some reason, but after that all they do is just hang around and be mad at each other all the time.
You know what? You're bold. I'm very mad at you.
And I get that it's a metaphor for Hollywood and the entertainment industry as a whole, but it doesn't really matter what it's supposed to mean unless you give us a reason to invest in this story. There's no flow, there's no intrigue. It doesn't feel like he thinks about what would happen logically in these worlds to progress the stories along. They just sort of happen, which works in something like Total Recall where you're supposed to question the reality of everything, but not something like Starship Troopers. And he loses our believability by not stressing its importance.
You forgot about the essence of the game. It's about the cones.
For example, when I was watching Starship Troopers, I just kept thinking, why are they doing a live fire exercise with a bunch of people running around their course? Also, they're firing into the air. There's a bunch of officers watching them from towers right above them.
It's my helmet! It's all screwed up!
How did a helmet get screwed up? It's a helmet.
Must be because I'm big and dumb!
How didn't you notice a giant asteroid coming right in front of you? It's bigger than the city of Buenos Aires. Speaking of Buenos Aires, why is it literally all white people? There's more people of Latin descent in the military than there is in this high school. If they have nukes, why not just nuke the bug planet? The bugs seem fine with nuking you.
Nuke 'em. Let's nuke the bastards.
Why is there a funeral for Dizzy and not the lieutenant? Isn't that like a bigger deal? How did the brain bugs survive being nuked at the end? That one guy blew up the entire cave. It wasn't exactly light on its feet. And if you say maybe there were two of them, why? That's like having two generals stationed 5 minutes away from each other. Kinda gives troops mixed messages there.
You're sending me mixed messages, Rick!
I could keep going on and on like that. So I will. 35% on a math final? What are you, actually mentally handicapped, Rico? And is that Lassie in the movie? Because that's awesome. It's ridiculous kind of stuff like this that makes the story less believable. And you're less willing to accept the story, so the satire becomes less poignant and feels so much more surface level. I did see the message of fascism and stuff. I recognized it. I understood it. but it didn't really affect me. And if there was more to these movies than just the stories, if they had complex characters and compelling lead performances, it might make the movie a smoother ride, and I could just put the film's inconsistencies in the back of my head. But the characters need a lot of work too. Yeah, there are plenty of memorable characters in his films. I feel like RoboCop, Catherine Trammell, and to an extent Douglas Quaid have become kind of ingrained in the cultural zeitgeist, probably due in no small part to the actors that play them.
I'm the famous comedian Arnold Braunschweiger.
But given that they're all so memorable, I found it surprising that I can't really remember any qualities they have about their personalities.
Who the hell am I?
All they ever really talk about is the plot. It honestly feels like he came up with some cool concepts and said, this will have a message about the dangers of patriotism. And then the writers were like, yeah, but like, what are the characters like? And he said, who cares? They're gonna do some crazy shit.
That was crazy!
Truthfully, can someone tell me something about what any of the characters are like? RoboCop has a kid.
My son Jimmy watches this cop show, TJ Laser.
Quaid likes Mars.
Brunette.
And brunettes. Nomi is mad at everyone. Rico likes boobs. A lot. Can't blame me for that one, my man.
Rico! Pay attention.
Sorry, Teach, I was thinking about boobs. But seriously, that's pretty much all we know about the characters. What they do, not what they feel. They're just vessels to tell a story. RoboCop is a prime example of lacking in the character department. We pretty much meet Murphy, who becomes RoboCop, in case you didn't know, right as he's transferred to this new precinct. We don't know why he was transferred, why he's a cop. We don't know anything about him. We just know his kid loves it when he flips his gun around his finger. Then he dies getting shot into a million pieces and becomes RoboCop. We go along as he fights crime and tries to learn about who he was before from his partner Lewis, and I guess we're supposed to be learning with him? But we kind of already know who he was before. He pretty much said everything he had going, so we end up waiting for him to figure it out. It feels like Verhoeven went halfway with this. He shows us too much of Murphy for it to be a mystery who he is, but too little of him for us to care that he dies. We don't actually know anything about him, so we don't really give a crap about him getting back to his family. I feel about as attached to him as I did to Fredrickson. You know, the cop who dies off screen before the movie even starts.
Good luck, Frank.
And what's with the sudden connection to Lewis? You guys were partners for less than a day. How do you have this deep emotional bond that is able to bring his humanity back? Like, if I had a new coworker start tomorrow, I doubt they'd be the one to remind me of who I really am. I have about 900 other people in front of them. Who am I kidding? It's like 9. I don't have any friends.
How come I don't have any friends?
Well, logically, it probably all traces back to when I was 7 years old and I witnessed the birth of my younger sister. I didn't mean to walk in, Mom. Why, nobody stopped me. Why did they stop me? There was so much, and the baby was covered with... I just didn't expect a second baby to come out after. I guess since then I've had a hard time looking at another person without picturing how it all comes out. Honestly, I feel the remake did the character more justice. Even if it was made with a worse actor, we see him with his family, so we know he has somewhere he needs to get back to. Him and his partner seem to have a long-standing relationship, and the action, while less bloody and gory, is a hell of a lot more entertaining than this.
Just do it!
What happens in the original is cool and everything, and if the characters were written with more personality, it probably would have made the movie a whole lot more impactful. I get a lot of the impact of these movies comes from the world building Verhoeven sets up. That seems to be where a lot of these films imprint themselves on us. People like to see the unique elements him and his writers come up with to inhabit these worlds and how they relate to modern society. I've heard this argument a lot. People like to say he does a good job of predicting in the future how businesses were going to take control over the government and how militaristic our society would be. You know what else does that? Movies that come out today. Didn't think I had to give a gold star out every time a filmmaker accurately reads people and sees where we're going. Guess I gotta give Pluto Nash props for knowing automated cars, video calls, and plastic surgery were gonna be a big thing in the future.
I'm talking titties galore. Let's have it. Titties really flowing.
And you could say, well, it's the nostalgia for how we thought the future would be. Yeah, but like if you watch Back to the Future 2 and 2015 was exactly the same as life was 5 years ago, A, it would be so much more boring, and B, the novelty of being impressed would wear off after about 30 seconds, and then you would just get bored to tears of seeing Marty McFly react to Hotline Bling and 50 Shades of Grey.
You're so big.
People don't remember the political satire or commentary of RoboCop. They just remember Murphy's over-the-top death because it's visually crazy. They remember Bitches Leave because it's Red Foreman saying it.
Bitches leave.
They remember the Ed 209 because it looks badass. And they remember RoboCop shooting a rapist in the dick because we've all imagined shooting a rapist in the dick. His action movies are also just dull to look at. They're not directed all that well, and most of the special effects haven't aged in the most elegant fashion.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the...
When people say RoboCop is their favorite action movie of all time, I always just have to wonder, how many action movies have you seen? Like, why can't RoboCop run? Is it because he's supposed to look like this thinly veiled Jesus metaphor?
Behold, Jesus Christ.
He feels like one zombie from the 1960s, which would be dangerous in a group, but by itself makes him look goofy, not badass. What's with all those terrible fake heads and stop-motion robots? Star Wars did both better almost 10 years earlier. Yeah, the blood and gore are cool, and I do miss when movies would use them in excess, but to me, it's like Die Hard 4 versus 5. Yeah, 5 is R-rated, but does that make it any less of a total dumpster fire? Nope. It really just matters who's making it. Maybe that's why Paul Verhoeven's movies are constantly being rebooted. And yeah, the R-rated cut of Die Hard 4 is better than the PG-13 cut, but it's not like the PG-13 cut is completely lost in value. You have to acknowledge that it's a vast improvement over the fifth one.
I cannot argue that.
The fight scenes in Total Recall aren't much better than RoboCop. It feels like just a bunch of bad guys jumping on Arnold when they have guns and they could just as easily shoot him. And then it takes Arnold about 10 cuts to knock people on the ground. It doesn't look believable, at least not compared to like 90 other Arnold movies, including Terminator Dark Fate. Even if the whole thing's a dream and Quaid being able to defeat them so easily is supposed to be part of the point, it doesn't give a reason why it looks as shitty as it does. That's all on you, Paul. It makes the intense scenes feel not intense at all. Like, you can't really look at something like Die Hard or Predator or Aliens or even Beverly Hills Cop and say the action in Verhoeven's movies is just as compelling or even just plain as fun to watch.
I'm bored.
I think people overlook them because they're classics. They got big guns and that's all you really need to be good, right? It really feels like he's out of his element directing action and he should stick to something simpler to get his messages across. Did someone say segue?
Where is it?
It says a lot that what I feel are his two best and most effective movies, Hollow Man and Basic Instinct, don't really have any of these elements. I don't prefer shitting on a director's work so much, especially when they put a lot of work into it. I mean, I'll do it, if I have to, but I won't be happy about it. I mean, I'll be a little happy about it, but not like, oh, I'm so happy about it. Shut up.
No, you shut up!
So I'm gonna get a little more nice now.
I'm a nice boy.
These movies feel like much simpler ideas, which is clearly where his strengths lie. When he's trying to tell these big, epic stories, he stretches everything else in the movie too thin, so only the ideas are the thing that are fleshed out rather than the characters or their motivations. Basic Instinct and Hollow Man are much more character-driven, saying a lot on the nature of humanity and the dark, deep-seated desires we have repressed inside us and how they come out when we develop skills or powers over others. Like in Hollow Man, you understand everything that's going on through Sebastian's mind, and you feel his slow descent into villainy, almost comparable to Walter White in Breaking Bad.
Goddamn right.
Until you hit a point where your sympathy for him turns into genuine terror or anger. Same with Nick in Basic Instinct. You feel his confusion and that seduction by Sharon Stone, with both Verhoeven and the character playing with her sex appeal to distract you from what should be so obvious the entire time. She's a murderer.
If I was guilty and I wanted to beat that machine, it wouldn't be hard.
I'm so confused.
Hollow Man had very clear characters for Kevin Bacon, Elizabeth Shue, and most of the scientists besides J.J. Abrams' roommate. You get little quirks and depth to most of the characters in these movies, and it makes you feel a connection to them. Not necessarily a strong one, but it makes you actually care about whether they live or die. What a concept, right? And how Hollow Man mostly gives you POV shots of all the horrific acts that he's doing, it makes you feel just so dirty and gross. It really is some brilliant directing, and it really hits home the dangers of voyeurism and abuse of power much better than his other films. He's not just telling us, he's showing us, and that's what film is made to do.
That is the whole point.
That's the effing point! That's the point! Get the point?
And hell, it's not like I didn't enjoy myself during RoboCop, Starship Troopers, or Total Recall. They all have interesting themes, events, and sets going for them with plenty of cool moments to keep you not totally bored the entire time. Like, I think Total Recall plays with the mystery dream element really well, and I'm still genuinely debating in my head whether or not it was all a dream. My head says yes, but my heart says no. Tell me what to do, Arnold.
Don't take no shit from anyone.
And it's not like I hate Starship Troopers. It does have genuine enjoyment and rewatch value. This moment in particular made me burst out laughing.
Run, I said! Run! Kronsky, keep pace! Move! Anytime you think...
They're all fine to watch and can be entertaining enough to keep your attention, but once they're done, I just don't find myself marinating on them for too long afterwards before I start thinking, I could go for some food.
Where's my sandwich?
I just don't see them as wholly untouchable films like a lot of people do, but they're far from cinematic trash. It's really only Showgirls that I think is a complete and total garbage movie.
I hate you.
Fuck you, Showgirls.
Man, everybody got AIDS and shit.
So, to sum up, I think his movies are a mixed bag of tricks. I like his movies enough to not be mad at them for existing, but I just don't think they bring as much to film as a whole as people claim they do. And with the way filmmaking techniques and visual effects have improved over the last 30 years, it's hard to say they fully hold up as well as they once may have. Except Hollow Man, I still think that holds up spectacularly.
My asshole is killing me.
Spectacular.
I know Verhoeven has a lot to say and he's very talented behind the camera, but his flaws are just too apparent to me to fully appreciate his movies for what they could have been. I think people overlook a lot of these flaws because his movies were cool and different than most of what was being made at the time. And I gotta give him credit for going with more practical effects than visual effects, but
That doesn't magically make your bad ideas good.
And I'm not saying these movies are horrible, they're more insightful than a lot of what's being made today, actually. But you still need to make something good to make your ideas stick. God, I'm sweating like a donkey in a donkey house.